Okay, great. Well, my name is Jean Rudy. I'm a marketing professional. I work for the University of Iowa with an accelerator and incubator that helps student startups, and I particularly help them with their marketing and branding. And I worked in advertising and publishing and public relations in my career. So all of those things came together when I became the officer of a small and very much failing GMO, and I took on that GMO like a client and just branded it and then grew it like I would have treated a client. And so just taking what I learned in that process, I've worked to, share that knowledge. I know how hard all of you work and how you're not compensated for that. And so it's very much appreciated that you're, as I say, nothing happens without you all in our local horse communities, and the sport really depends on it. So I want to support you, and so very happy to be here. I did have a chance to take a look at all of the newsletters that you forwarded to Holly, and I put some notes in the spreadsheet for you that I shared back to Holly that she can extend to you. And after we go through some of these, best practice things, all of those notes will make a lot of sense to you. But if they don't, please reach out to me, and I'll just put my email in the chat. Okay. So I assume that everyone here hasn't met. So can I ask everyone just to introduce themselves and tell us where you are and just how many are in your GMO? So can I start with Mackenzie?
Sure. And I guess I'll hand it off to Emily since she's the president. I'm
Sure.
a member, but
Oh,
just
okay. Hi, Emily.
Hi, so I'm Emily Mullins. I'm the president of the Brazos Association for Classical Horsemanship. We are in Central Texas, about an hour and a half north of Houston. We're a pretty small club. Actually, our membership is growing this year thanks to some
Great.
initiatives that we've been pushing. So we're at about 30 members right now, but I'm hoping we can get closer to 40 by the end of the year. And this is Mackenzie. She's on our board as part of the show committee, but she's been doing far more than just show committee work.
so
Okay,
getting in on the
fantastic. I love that
newsletter.
I also just want to say that I love that I just heard a membership goal. And just the fact that you have one and the fact that you shared that membership goal means that you're going to make it. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. That's like proven. If it's only in your mind, it's like 10% chance. If you write it down, it's 50% chance. If you share it with someone, it's like 90% chance because your mind will make yourself get that done. So awesome. Dina.
Hello, I'm Dina Helmanack. I am with CSDEA. I am the newsletter editor. I'm in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And we currently have about 350 members. We are pre-COVID, we're up over 400. So hopefully we're hoping it will go back up again this year. Hopefully we get to get back out and showing. And I have been the editor of our newsletter for 3 years now.
Wow, great. That is a big GMO.
Yeah.
A lot of scale.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, June. Yeah, I'm just going with like who I see on my Zoom screen here. Hi, June.
Hi, I am with Georgia Dressage and Combined Training Association. So we have nearly 800 members. We're the largest in the Southeast. Penny Morse and I co-edit the newsletter. We also do a print, it's online 10 months a year, and then we do one print yearbook issue every year for the last 3, or is this the 4th year? I'm not sure now. And we've been doing that for about 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. an even bigger GMO and lots of horse country.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So it's Penny and June. You're both with Georgia.
Yeah.
Erica Schwan, I don't see you, but looks like you might be there.
Yeah, sorry, my computer is so old, it doesn't have a camera.
Oh,
Um, so anyway, yeah. Taffy Ross and I put out the newsletter for the St. Louis Area Dressage Society. We're out of St. Louis. And Taffy's our writer, and I'm a designer by trade. And so I've been working on the newsletter for about 4 years, and Taffy has been working on it for, what, 2 years now? Yeah. Our membership, because of COVID, has dramatically decreased. We were anywhere close between like 85 to 95 members. I think at one time we went over 100, but right now we're back down to, I haven't gotten anything recent, but I heard somewhere around 40. So it's tough.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a challenge for sure. Okay. Yes, and how lucky for any GMO who has a graphic designer as a member. You're way ahead of the game if you
Oh, thanks. I enjoy it.
great. Mosey.
Hello, and I have to thank Holly for getting me in because my computer wasn't cooperating. Anyway, I'm with the Northern Ohio Dressage Association. I've been their newsletter editor. This is my second time, so for about a decade overall. And we do 12 print newsletters a year, and we put them out on Issue as well as our website. We have right now about 225 members, which is down. We usually average about 325 members. So we're down this year. As well as the newsletter, I do the Recognized Show program. And I'm looking for ideas of how to encourage people to participate, because I find with Facebook, you know, people can put their pictures out there and get their kudos online. It's almost like they don't need us to give them their kudos. So I'm looking for people, how to encourage people to send photos and just even small pieces about members. But anyway, we do put member spotlights in every single one. We highlight the USDF, and I mean, we do a lot, but I feel like maybe our membership is not as interested as the board is in our newsletter. So how do we make it more interesting to membership is what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I would for sure look at the presentation, because we really go into depth on how to, I call it knocking people off the fence. You have a lot of people.
Is that from the present?
Yeah, it's my presentation from the USDF convention. You were there. Okay.
Yeah.
So we talk about knocking people off the fence, that they're interested, but they have all of these objections, and through a lot of different psychological tactics, you eventually, so we'll get into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Sure. Thank you, Mosey. Stephanie?
Hi, I'm Erica's partner in St. Louis. So I'm the one who writes, I'm a board member, and as my sort of service to the group, I write a monthly article. And the only thing is, I do think lots of our members drag their feet and they renew their membership only when show season starts and there's a particular show they want to enter.
Okay.
So that's just revving up now, and our nearest venue is having a smaller set of dressage shows. There's some controversy there. So there's less of an incentive for members to pay the money to even rejoin until they think they'll actively show. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, it's so essential to have value attached to the membership that's not available elsewhere, and something really exclusively available through the membership, and to keep reminding people of that all the time. So
But we'll say we have a pretty active educational subcommittee, and we're having like a program, but we'll see how attractive that can be.
Sure. Okay, great. Julie.
Hi, my name is Julie Babel, and I am a new board member and the newsletter editor for Three Rivers Equestrian Association in Western Pennsylvania and Ohio and West Virginia. And our membership is about, I don't have really accurate numbers. I know that I checked 80 to 100 for membership. So we're in there somewhere, I believe. And yeah, I just thought that that was a really good point. And I'm sorry, I forget who said it, but about kind of fighting social media, that, you know, there's this immediate interaction with members. The newsletter only comes out once a month. So I agree, probably we're more excited about our newsletter than our membership is. And certainly really excited to hear ways to kind of confront that. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Sure, thank you for being here. Shannon?
Hey, everybody, and thank you, Holly, for getting me on as well. I'm with the North Carolina Dressage and Combined Training Association. We do have quite a few shows with South Carolina as well. We have about 600 members. We put out 12 issues a year. We print them, mail them, and it's posted on the website. And our group has a lot of competitions and then educational opportunities and grants. And then they host several championship shows per year. And an interesting thing that we did and the whole reason why I got involved 2 years ago is they added Western Dressage as a Hoya Awards.
Okay,
so that was great for them to, and then that's the only reason I got involved. So I'm kind of late to the game in the organization, but yes, so I really appreciate you putting this talk on too.
Oh, awesome. Okay, thanks, Shannon. Lynn? Hi, Lynn. Oh, Lynn, you've got to unmute yourself. There we go.
Yeah, okay. So I'm with the CTDA, the Central Tennessee Dressage Association. And I think I just saw Marissa, our membership chair, just came on, but I think we're at about 150, usually 150 members. We're not quite there yet this year. I will say that the newsletter that I send out, I send to our archive, which is about 400 people. And I figure that somewhere in there, people are still paying attention. And I kind of get that because I can also see through the system that I send our newsletter out, I can see who is like, what do they say? Not blocking, but, disengaging from the email list. So most people are staying in, and then I also post that newsletter to our Facebook site because I totally agree that social media has us kind of questioning why we're doing a newsletter, but there are still plenty of people in our organization. They tell me this whenever I'm at a show. They are not on Facebook, or they just don't check it very often. So so I still feel like that a newsletter is important for what we're doing. And so anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Yes, one of the points that we talk about is that when somebody gets an impression from you on social media, it's immediately buried in an avalanche of other things and other subjects. And when they get a newsletter, a really good one that you're going to get a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and you can't wait to read it, that is an experience of like belonging to something that's just all about you and your group. Totally different mindset that you're going to like consume that information and feel a part of something and feel engaged. So don't feel bad if Facebook beats you to some news. Just you're going to dovetail with that and use Facebook in tandem with your newsletter, and definitely publish your newsletter to your Facebook page as well as send it out. And for sure, there are people who are not on social media, and even though I'm a marketing professional, I'm on it as little as possible. I just don't prefer to spend too much time that way. And so yeah, Can I we'll go ahead and finish here, and then I'm curious to know who all is using MailChimp. Yeah, can we do a raise of hands, MailChimp or Constant Contact? Okay, awesome. So one of the things that those systems do is they integrate really well with your social media. And when you publish the newsletter, it automatically publishes to your Facebook page. It also allows you to sign people up for the newsletter from your Facebook page. And on the back side, you can see exactly who opened the newsletter when and how many times. Like we would always have a few people who would open it 9 times. Like they just kept looking at it and really enjoyed it. And then you would have other people that would want to read it but weren't getting it, and then it's going into a spam folder because they were like never opening it. So you get a lot of tools with those systems that are valuable to you from a marketing standpoint and from a membership growth standpoint, 100%. So I really encourage everyone to look at MailChimp. You can be on MailChimp for free up to, I forget if it's 1,000 or 2,000 contacts, but 2,000 contacts. So everyone's well within that. You get a huge amount of functionality for no money. It's really great, and you don't have to be a designer, and it'll make your newsletter look beautiful. So anyway, okay, who have we not heard from? Did we hear from Becky?
Becky is having some trouble.
Okay.
Becky, can you try or not? Or do you know how to use the chat function? So it's what I'm trying to figure out is if she can't hear us, or if she just can't.
Right.
Basically, I kind of think maybe she ought to just rejoin the meeting.
Yeah.
So she emailed me about that. So
Marisa, and is it Marisa like my daughter or Marissa?
It's Marissa. Hello, everybody. I'm in the car. Sorry.
Hi, Marissa.
I'm trying to get home. So yes, like Lynn Gloss said, I'm the membership coordinator for Central Tennessee Dressage Association. And I took the position in November. We have right now about 140 members, and I've been digging into the archives, and on average, the retention, we lose probably, based on what I've seen, at least 50 members a year, and that washes out with probably about 35 or 40 new members. So we're in this constant like retention, rejoin cycle, which I think I was intrigued by the idea of this program because I thought we have to work really hard to attract new members, so why can't we just retain the members that we have? And to Lynn's point also, the average age of our members is 50.
Yeah, so you just underscored one of the most important things in marketing, which is that it costs 5 times more to convert a prospect into a customer than it does to retain a customer that you already have. So it's so key to have a 2-pronged effort, really a 3-pronged effort. One is to attract new members. Number 2 is to maintain the members that you have by making sure that they feel paid attention to and engaged in some way. And 3 is have you ever received an email from a catalog company that you haven't ordered from for a while? So you're on their inactives list. You're on their inactives list, and they say, was it something we said? Or, gee, we haven't heard from you for a while, Mackenzie. Here's a 20% off coupon. That is trying to get inactive customers back. So we actually our secretary wrote personal notes to some of our longtime lapsed members, inviting them back. They had seen like the revitalization of our group, and just that little personal touch, I think like 50% of the people that she wrote to joined immediately. Number one reason that people, well, that customers leave a business is that they just don't feel valued or paid attention to. It's not necessarily that anything bad happened. So that is just a thought for you. So you have an effort to get new members, and you have an effort to retain members, as you said, Marissa, and it's probably worth the time and effort to try to reattract members that you've lost. Worst case scenario, you reached out to them in a friendly way and made a good impression, even if they don't come back, right?
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what what I've been doing is when they join, I send them a note and tell them they've been acknowledged. And some of them respond with questions. Some of them respond with an acknowledgement, just thank you. And and then I went to our first show in March, or about 2 weeks ago, and I was able to place the face with the names, which people seem to appreciate. So
yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's building relationships right there, and that's fostering that sense of belonging, which we talk about in the presentation. I should ask if we've heard from everybody, and are we looking?
I'm still here.
Sorry, Susan, go ahead. Hi.
Hi, I'm Susan Pendleton. I'm with the State of Maine Dressage Association. We are pretty steady at about 100 members and have been for a while. I think probably some of our, in addition to the issues that everybody experiences, people associate us with our show program and year-end awards, and they don't see the value of being a member if they're not going to show this year. We've even had board members who, gee, you didn't renew your membership. Oh, well, I'm not going to show this year. So how do we create value? Jean's talk at the convention really struck home when she was talking about the silos. You know, they're part of a barn. They've got a barn community and a barn family. So our broader SMDA community is only meaningful if they're planning on showing. I think one of the things that's unique for us is we're very much in the shadow of NEDA, which I think is like the second largest GMO. You know, it's New England Dressage Association, and it's headquartered out of Massachusetts. Right. A lot of our riders graduate from us and, you know, will join NEDA and start doing more recognized showing, going to regional championships, et cetera. So how do we retain those people that think they've gone beyond our local GMO?
Yes. So if were we planning to conclude at 8, or what's the, I want to make sure that I spend the time on what everyone wants to spend the time on. So I thought I could answer some questions and then just take a look at some newsletter best practice tips. And then I think Holly can share with you all the feedback that I gave to your individual newsletters after this meeting. Oh, Holly, you're muted.
Sorry, so Lori from Dallas, Lori Crow, just joined, or not joined with us, but I'm trying to make sure that I just directly send her the link to the registration for Zoom, so we can just get her on here as quickly.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I'm multitasking, so it's not.
Okay.
As far as us finishing at 8, I'm okay with us going later. We certainly have enough people that we can afford it.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's just talk very quickly about when you have a competing GMO. What's important to do when you have a competitor is to have a strong point of differentiation and to absolutely plant that stake and say, we're about this. And don't try to be all things to all people. So if the other one is about, you know, big international clinicians and recognized shows, what would you say is your strong suit? Are you about like community, education, social, learning, introduction to the sport? what is the thing that that your GMO really delivers?
Well, for us, sorry, Becky's having trouble getting back in. For us, basically, our 3 tenets are, our education, support, and growth, basically. So like we try and filter everything we do through those 3 ideas, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So so I don't know if that's your tagline, but having a tagline or a mission or a statement of purpose is really key to help you communicate the benefit of belonging to your organization. And if you have a tagline, it should really embody what makes you different from other GMOs, and it should appear with your logo. It doesn't have to appear all the time, but typically at the end of any communication, it'll be South Florida Dressage, community support growth, whatever it is. Okay. I like, as you know, the word "you" is the most powerful word in marketing. So our tagline was your hub for community and education, because we were not a GMO focused on awards. We barely had any showing riders. We had a lot of riders who weren't even riders anymore, but they wanted to learn and get together. And so we made sure that it was clear that our mission and focus was education, networking, and kind of like a community. And that was against the, silos of people who never talk to each other. So develop a tagline for sure. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We'll look at a few pages of that presentation, and then I'm going to go through one of my newsletters and just point out like what the items are that you're going to see in the notes that I gave back to you. And I want to say I saw some wonderful newsletters. And it's so cool to think of all of these riders around the country, and I was just really impressed. So let's see, we'll go to, oh, there's the whiteboard. I'm always looking for that whiteboard and can never find it. Okay. Share my PowerPoint. All right, are you seeing my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Just need to get rid of these pesky meeting controls so I can. Okay. Oh, sorry. I think we all, there we go. We all have Zoom fatigue at this point. Slideshow, play from current slide. Okay. I'm going to move us out of there. So, whoops. Trying to get this out of the way. So there you can see our tagline and how it appears with our logo, always written in the same way, whatever that font is, whatever the size of it is in relation to your logo, placed exactly the same way. It's just it's another element of your branding that will help to distinguish you and remind people why they want to be a part of what you're doing. So a little bit about the branding. The voice that you use should be warm and welcoming. Always using the word you rather than we. So if you're describing the organization, you say you're going to learn, you're going to meet people, you're going to enjoy, doing things with your horse. So all of your communication sounding kind of like a one-on-one conversation with the one user that is reading the newsletter or on the site. Writing a tagline is kind of like what can you really deliver that other GMOs can't, and what makes you unique. So I just wanted to go over that quickly. And then in terms of branding, one of the biggest things in common I saw with many of the newsletters was that they were not well branded. If you got in the mail a communication from Wells Fargo or Tiffany, you would immediately know who it was from. Or, you know, if you saw a UPS truck, you would immediately know it's UPS because of the color and the elements that are part of that brand. So when you add a lot of other colors to your newsletter and a whole lot of fonts, and you only have your logo at the top and you're not repeating any of those brand elements, then I really can't tell that it's you. So I would say really work on the design end to restrict your color palette to whatever your brand colors are. If you don't have any, great idea to introduce some, especially if you're kind of looking to have like a brand renaissance and like a, you know, new and improved version of your GMO, or you're, you know, updating things, introducing new programming. That might be a great time for an updated logo and brand palette. So ours used to be purple, and we had a lot of negativity in our group that I felt we needed to move away from. So I made everything orange, and always the same color orange everywhere that you went. If you were on Facebook, you knew it was us. This was an ad. Our logo, our newsletter, all the subheads in that orange, no other colors. This is a sign that we would post on the corners wherever our physical meetings were held, like a yard sign. And this is the barn poster. This is a newsletter meeting, but this is the biggest driver of new membership that you can do. This is and this is on my presentation, but we basically made a calendar with a sexy horse picture, and we made a nice big poster of it, and we distributed it to all of the barns in our area, and everyone hung them up. So every person every night after work at the barn for, you know, 3 hours is walking by your brand and seeing your events and stopping and looking at that. And so you're making a lot of impressions on exactly your target market. And so they have these mental impressions, and then they open Facebook and there's an event and it's orange, or they get the newsletter and it's orange, and people connect all these things and it feels like something exciting. So that is the plan. But everything that you can brand, you want to brand, including emails from you. If you email someone, make sure you have a separate email signature that looks very official, that says your name, your officer position. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just had a little notice that my internet connection was not stable. Yeah, so it should say, you know, Jean Rudy, President, Eastern Iowa Dressage and Eventing Association. I always encourage you to spell it out at least half the time. Don't always say EIDEA, because there's always people moving into town who won't know what that is. And it's another layer of making that brand impression. So your name, your position, name of the organization, link to the website, and tagline, and the logo if you can manage that. But for sure, don't just sign it Jean. If it's like an official communication from you, it feels nice for someone to receive an email from the president or the secretary or the webmaster. So create that email signature. So that gets into another area. So the barn posters, and make your newsletter a siren call. I think that the newsletter available to anyone rather than members is the way to go. And I think that if you create this sense of you're missing out all the time, the people who sign up for it and are curious will eventually want to join. And as well on MailChimp, you literally get the address of the people who are your prospects, right? They signed up for the newsletter and haven't joined yet. There you've got an email marketing campaign. Hey, we noticed you're subscribing to our newsletter. We're, having this great event next month. We'd love for you to attend and join. So very valuable tool there, all free. So some of the, yeah,
Can I
sorry.
ask a question about that?
Yeah, sure.
Because that is something that our past board has felt very strongly about, not making our newsletter available to non-members. What do you, how do you, I'm wondering how I sell that to them.
Yeah, the idea was that it was a perk or a benefit of membership. But we're in the age of content marketing now. And there's not it's not like anything you're putting in there is not available anywhere in the universe. Like a lot of information is totally public. But what the newsletter is allowing you to do is to constantly remind prospects, right? They have to sign into it, right? They have to say, I want to receive this free newsletter. So they're already expressing their interest, and then it gives you the opportunity to keep making brand impressions on them, reminding them what you do, and most importantly, showing them other people joining and other people doing cool stuff and being engaged. Yeah, you're gonna grow membership more that way than you're going to excite people by a perk of, getting a newsletter where they can really find, I can find a show bill, I can find a show schedule, I can find what clinics are in town, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, tell them I said so. I don't know.
I will tell them that.
Yeah, and especially if you're distributing it through MailChimp, and then you like, we had more than twice as many subscribers as members when I started, right? And I think we managed to convert like half of those additional prospects into members eventually. Every newsletter it would say, join, and here are the benefits, and what are you waiting for? So make it free to non-members, create FOMO, fear of missing out. That's really key. Welcome every new member. I saw a couple of you doing, Molly, you had that in your newsletter. Somebody else had it with wonderful pictures. That is key. When somebody sees that one of their friends or their neighbor down the street joined, that's going to incent them or make them think that they might be missing out. So cover horsey milestones. No one who gets a new horse doesn't want to be congratulated on that 100 times, and tell the story of who the horse is and the sire and all of that. And that's doing it in front of the audience receiving that newsletter, and it has more of a feeling of importance than someone sharing their own thing, right? It's like they wrote about me and my horse with a picture. It's nicer. And it feels more special. So we like to cover, like, if someone lost a horse or, got a new horse, in our news section. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of that. And I'm going to go to, let's see if I can. Have a million tab. Here we go. All right, let's see if I can share this. Whoops, come on, you. Whoop, wrong thing. with me. It's here somewhere. Are you seeing two screens side by side right now? Or no? Do you see the Three Rivers Equestrian on the right?
It's it's in portrait mode.
Yeah, okay, but you see Three Rivers? Okay, awesome.
No, we do not.
Yeah, we don't.
Oh, you don't. Okay. Okay.
The partial screen.
It's just your EIDA.
Oh, good. Okay, that's what I was trying to share. Okay.
Oh.
I have more desktops here. Okay. So here was I just want to point out like some of the elements of a newsletter that I saw many of you were missing. One is to name your newsletter. So don't call it the news or newsletter, but give it a name, especially one that reflects what you're about or the area that you're in. I think North Carolina might have been one of the ones that just said news. So I wonder if there's like a fun local North Carolina thing that North Carolinians would know about that you could call it, but something that kind of sticks and is catchy. It could have to do with writing, but definitely name the newsletter. So that's a name. And also please spell out your organization as well as have your logo on the header. And we want to know what the issue is. And some of you, it's great. You also had the volume and the volume and number, which is great. Or you can do month and year. But more than a few of them just went into the information without that identifier. So it's just a thing that reminds my brain that it's news that I'm getting that has like time sensitivity. And you want to brand it. So if you can incorporate whatever colors are associated with your logo, you definitely want to do that. I think it's great to try to separate content by some kind of visual aid like a bar or a box, and be careful about just flowing a whole lot of content together with just white space between. For a newsletter, you want the kind of like a visual map that your eye will go from one bit of content to the next, and in a logical way. It's also, and I know we have a designer here, so she'll know, but you want headlines to be big and subheads to be a little less big, and body copy is going to be smaller. So I saw a lot of newsletters that had pretty small subheads and headlines. And one thing you want your reader to be able to do is to just skim the headlines and know what section they're in, right? So we have these sections. Most of you have a letter from the president. I think that's great. If you think about magazines that you love, magazines are like almost always built in, they call it front of book, the well, and back of book. And the front of book is like little newsy clips, short bits of information, lots of pictures, tips. It's kind of eases you into the reading experience. So you don't want to start your publication with a big feature article. That's like too much. So you start with this kind of front of the book stuff, and it's nice to have like an idea that recurs every time. We did one that like I would look up a quote from a master and drag a picture off the internet. And that's just like a gentle way of saying, kind of pulling people in and being about dressage and about horsemanship. This is also a nice place to put links. You don't get like too subtle with your social media links. A lot of you, I just saw them all the way at the bottom and very subtle. I like to tell people what to do, right? Connect with EIDEA, follow us, email us, visit our new site. a lot of template designers kind of want to take that all away and just have those things. But I find it's good to tell people what action to take. And our Region 4 director asked us to include her links, which we did. And then we also have sharing links, which just means that you can, share this MailChimp newsletter or forward it to someone. We also try to have a lot of buttons. So like, I'm sorry to say, nobody ever sent me a quote, but I did invite them to. And if they clicked on this, they would go to my email and they could tell me what quote they wanted me to feature. And here, like for a letter from from the president, it's a nice idea to use some kind of background so it feels like letterhead. And I liked how for many of them you had a salutation like a letter and a sign off, which is great. And then consistent subheads. We always reminded people if it was dues renewal time, and of course you got to have those links. Some of you did. One of the rules of marketing is that you have to make it easy for people to respond if you want them to respond. So if you say, go to our website to apply, that's much less likely to happen than if you include that link. So, and we now have it, fully online. You can pay by mail if you'd like, or you can just go to the site and renew there. So that was another way of making it easier, especially for younger people to join. They don't write checks and mail things, but they understand everything online. So we found it worthwhile to add that capability to our site so that we could collect dues there. Then this is also front of book for us, upcoming events. So many of you listed your entire calendar in the newsletter, and I would rather that you link to that on your site. And because this is a newsletter and you want everything to be time sensitive and you don't want to keep repeating content, when you do that month after month, people will stop reading it. So we always featured the next 3 events, and we always included an image, and the same image would be used on Facebook, where we would create the event and kind of do a countdown. Megan McIsaac is coming, same picture, so that you get that repetition of the same look. And then those 2 pieces of marketing reinforce each other and drive more response. To really help people find things, highlighting the date, that's key, right? If you have events, like if you are designing an event poster, the biggest thing on it will be the date, because you want people to think in their minds that they need to reserve that. So highlight that date, big headline, give the what and when, and a little bit of buzz building copy. Tell them what they're going to learn and what they're going to do there. So we just would, each newsletter, this would rotate. So in the next newsletter, Megan will be gone, and hopefully we'll have a feature article on how that went. And then these 2 would be there, and then a January one would be there. So it looks like something new is always happening. And if they want to read that full calendar, they can go to the site. Welcome new members. That's so key, especially for people subscribing to this who are not members, thinking about joining, not sure. Sorry about that. I thought those notifications were turned off. With a picture is great, big headline, congratulations. I found that nobody ever sent me anything for the newsletter. I just had to reach out to people and say, like if I was at a clinic, I would say, Helen, would you please write this up for the newsletter? And if I heard somebody got a horse, I would email and say, hey, Allie, send me a picture of your horse. I would love to put it in the newsletter. And people will always do it and say yes. But if you request people to come forward with things to a group, or like especially on Facebook, like no one will. So I just recommend that you act like an editor and assign people tasks. And usually people are happy to be called upon for that, but they're going to feel shy about coming forward. So so we have these bars kind of separating areas, and this is like, what area are you in? So I'm in news now. So we have little tidbits of news, and you want to use that headline writing style. And then we're in features. And so here's where, so this would be the well of the magazine. So after you read like the, best lipstick or whatever, then you get into like the 3-page article. That's the well. Now you're sitting down and relaxing and you're going to read a bit more. So here we would have people write up the events and show all those people who haven't joined yet what they're missing and how much fun everyone is having. I think this is a key aspect of the newsletter. I'd much rather see this than articles about dressage training, because we can get all that. This is more of that, like fostering a sense of community, fostering a sense of belonging. So I would cover your events as features and ask members to write those up for you. Never run a photograph without a caption. Captions are the first thing that most people read. Some people will only read the captions. So always put a caption, identify the horse and the person and the place if you can. Another feature, someone went to WEG, someone went to the Bundeschampionat in Germany. So we had 3 features. Okay, so that was the well. Now here's another bar showing us that we've moved into another area. And so now we're at the back of books. So when you think about that last page of a magazine, like Dressage Today used to have those wonderful drawings of like a concept about dressage, and many people would like turn to that first. So these should be like really fun, like can't wait to read it every month things. This idea was, I asked members what product or thing at the barn could they just not live without that they loved? Because I always want to know like what people like, what's your favorite saddle pad, or do you have a trick for something? So this was fun, but again, I had to like ask, I just emailed people and said, hey, tell me what your favorite thing is. And this is a way, again, to create that sense of belonging and to highlight somebody. One person said towels, and she described all of the ways that she uses towels in the barn, and she always has a big stack of them. I just thought that was so. Then we have another look to this area where we have clinics. I always grab a picture if I can. You don't want all text for your newsletter. It's so easy now to just drag something off of the internet or ask someone to send you a picture. At the end, great idea to have your board. Many of you do. You can offer emails. You certainly don't have to. And then you need a footer that just has your, boilerplate copyright type of thing. I should probably have our logo down here again, so my bad, but I did recommend that a lot of you add your logo to your footer as well. So that's an example of one of our newsletters. Okay, so we're at 8 o'clock. I'd like to turn it over to questions at this point. And I have all of your newsletters up on a tab, but for sure I don't think there's time to like spin through all of those. But if you have a specific question on yours, I can pull it up, or you can just ask me, or you can type it into chat, whatever.
Jean, should I share that now so that I can take a look at the comments? I can share that link in the chat.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's probably going to be most useful if everyone is looking at their newsletter on their screen.
Right.
Yeah, you could look at those. And so while you're doing that, I'll just take any questions.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
Because I do try to brand, and if, you know, the different committees want an ad, I always try to have the NOTA logo and the website and the blog. But then I get these committee members who I love, but they'll send me an ad and it just totally doesn't have information, or it doesn't have our logo, or it doesn't say who, what, when, where, how, why. And when I try to be kind and pull this out of them, they get all in the uproar like I'm trying to take over their committee, when all I really just want is an ad that, you know, that has messaging. And I've even asked, you know, we do put a full calendar and everything in our newsletter. Our website gets the calendar from us. So I've tried really hard to say, we need to have a messaging committee. We need to like get on one page. We need to do this. But the powers that be don't feel this is important. So I'm kind of stuck out there in limbo, and everyone's doing a great job. All these committees are working hard. But when they send me an ad, and my heart just drops, because I think, well, this doesn't look anything like NOTA.
Right.
You know,
right.
So then I kind of have to it's hard because we don't have messaging. Everybody just does their own thing. And sometimes we'll have one event and they'll put something out in the email blast, even though I'll send them the ad I created. They'll send something out on the calendar. They'll send something out on website. And then I'm just sitting there going, oh, we need a messaging committee so bad. How do I broach this subject in a positive yet firm manner?
Yeah, volunteering's fun, right? Yeah, I think it's so important that everyone has their role and the roles are clear. I mean, it's good to solicit input from people, but in the end, whoever's communications director needs to be the communications person. And there needs to be standards of, like, no communication should ever leave anyone's hands that is not branded. And if one thing you could do is say, hey, everyone, we're all going to watch Jean's presentation from the annual meeting, and that part where I talk about the snowballs, and you're either building the brand snowball or snowflakes are just melting everywhere and not adding up to anything. So I guess I would say, if you have a communication, here's the format for it. If you need help with that, let me know. We want to improve our brand presence in the community, so we need to get everyone aligned with how we look when we communicate. Everything's got to look official.
Yes, everything does, but it doesn't. So thank you. I'm going to try. I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to present it at our next board meeting and say we should have a branding and communications meeting.
Yeah, just that there are a couple of standards, like that, you know, and sometimes if you just like create a digital letterhead for people, that would help. But like, for instance, you could have some recommendations like that all of the officers have the same email signature. Every communication bears our logo, right? That type of thing. Or, you know, let's all get together and talk about a tagline and start using it. Repetition.
Yes, I'll do this.
Yes. Okay.
How often should we be sending out a newsletter, by the way?
Yeah, I did mine every month, last day of the month, like clockwork, because I felt like it's a publication, it should come out on time. Since I've given that over to other people, it started coming out sporadically, and now it's coming out every 2 months. I feel like a newsletter, every 2 months is not, it's not news anymore. So I'd rather, you know, especially if you're using MailChimp, I'd rather see you dash out a really newsworthy fun and engaging communication once a month. You know, what's our next meeting? Here's what we did last month. Here's our new members. Here's the link to join. You know, thank you, Sally, for becoming our new volunteer coordinator. Just the news of that month. It doesn't have to be long. And I really, in fact, I would really discourage super long newsletters with repetitive content. I think people's eyes glaze over.
Okay.
You know, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm barging in. One of the things I do, I've been sending it out every 6 weeks, basically because I spend somewhere between 15 and 20 hours on every newsletter, which is overwhelming to do, you know, once a month. That's a part-time job. So I send it out every 6 weeks, and then I fill in with email blasts.
Yeah, that sounds great. And that's a good approach too. Yeah, periodic newsletter plus short email blasts when and if you have a really urgent communication, yeah, social media plus an email blast.
I guess I had a couple of questions. The email or the newsletter that you showed us, does that go out in print or only online?
Only MailChimp, yeah.
Okay.
When I inherited the GMO, we used to print and mail them, and I just went to Constant Contact and sorry, MailChimp.
Sure.
Yeah, I know some of you I noticed are both printing and distributing electronically. Oh, you know, something I forgot to mention, it's so important to have your newsletter full of links. If you mention a barn, link to the barn site. If you know, have a show, link to the show site. Everywhere links, because that sends people to your friends and your friends come back to you. It improves SEO. It's like a more engaging experience. And you can't do that in print.
Right. So, I mean, we currently do 5 issues a year. 3 of them are in print and 2 of them are online. And we have gone, I mean, it costs a lot of money to print because we do at least 24 pages on our print ones and going to 250 people. So between the printing and the mailing, it's quite expensive, but I can't convince them that we should only go online. So I'm wondering, you know, do you have any suggestions as to how to do that, or how I can sell it as it being more valuable?
Yeah, I guess if you have advertisers that are covering,
well, they're not probably coming,
you know, the
they're not
advertisers
coming
feel
close
that has
to covering the cost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it loses money.
Yeah,
every
well,
year.
that'll be one way to approach it. Either we need to cover our printing expense through advertising, or we need to go digital and get and that allows us to reach way more people than our membership base, and you know, convince all of these prospects that they should come on board with us, and you know, give us a lot more exposure and a lot more flexibility, and
Right. Because we even this year, we actually asked when we renewed memberships if you wanted it printed, emailed, or both. And we probably only got maybe between 30 to 50 people that chose not to get it in print.
Yeah, see, I'm bad. I never focus group things like that. I just decide what I'm doing and then I do.
Well, I'm not on the board, so I can't make that decision. And
yeah. I mean, some of you are in big GMOs and you've got great advertisers that could buy a back page for $1,000 or something, and they'd like that to be sitting around tack rooms and you know, barn lounges. That's great. I get that. So
Yeah, but we just don't, I mean, we have advertisers, but not enough to cover the expense.
Yeah, so
that
I
it
would
is.
just say that the trend and the technology is there for us to design and distribute a beautiful newsletter to 1,000 people with the press of a button without the need for postage or printing. We could put that money into X for our group. We could get Charles DeCunfee to come or what. Right. So maybe describe it that way. What could we do with that money?
Right. I'm curious if anybody that does online only has advertisers that pay to be just online.
Oh, we do.
You do?
We do,
Okay.
yeah. And I totally agree that it is a money argument.
Yeah.
You can do so much more. Our newsletter, we pay for. Emma is our newsletter program, and I think we pay $200 a year, and I haven't come close to using the amount of email contacts or it can be limiting as far as the total data that I can use in a newsletter, but otherwise it's so much more efficient and cheaper.
Yeah, the other key thing is how it dovetails with your social media and your site. It integrates, and then all those things reinforce one another. So. So
Okay.
yeah, I think those kinds of changes are hard, but I think you can make the case that it's going to free up funds for things that might be more mission consistent with what the GMO and its membership wants, without sacrificing any quality, right? I mean, it's fun when you get a good newsletter in your email.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I had a branding question. Our GMO colors are black and white.
Uh-huh.
And
Sure.
I inherited that blue and orange. I've done the newsletter for about a year now, and I appreciated your comment on that. So I just kind of stuck with what was there. Is it a good idea to suggest that we add a color? You had suggested maybe doing some black and gold because we're Pittsburgh. Yeah, I just didn't know what you thought. Is black and white enough?
Yeah, well, there's a big trend in black and white logos, but it does, if you really embrace that and everything is black and white and right, like South Florida, yeah, you guys should have a little flamingo pink in there as far as I'm concerned. It's nice to have a distinctive color, and especially to have that restricted color palette. So there would be nothing wrong with our primary brand colors are black and white, and our secondary color is whatever. And then you just, restrict, use it for your subheads, use it for your buttons. For sure, you want buttons to like pop off of your newsletter, so that people take action when they see them. Yeah, and like as far as what that color would be, it could have to do with the personality of the group or the city that you're based in, or a mood. Like I'm not a big fan of blue generally. Blue is IBM and business, and it's kind of sad. And I mean, you see this orange painting behind me, I did orange because it's like energy, and I was thinking of the Dutch and the Netherlands and warm bloods, and so that's and sometimes a color will just be super dated, like if you have a teal logo from the 80s that you want to update. So yeah, and then yeah, nothing wrong with like freshening that up. The key is just to like decide what it is and then repeat. Does anyone want, I'm going to allow screen sharing. Does anyone want to bring their newsletter up? Oh, I can't allow screen sharing. Actually, Holly could allow screen sharing. If anyone just like has a question about the comments, they want to bring their newsletter up or show me
Yeah, and
something. I think we could go a few more minutes.
everybody can screen share, so.
Okay,
anybody
awesome.
can screen share, so. Anybody? Come on. Somebody.
I'll ask another question, and if you want me to, I can.
Yeah.
I noticed how spread out your newsletter is. So I'm an English teacher. I don't have any graphic design, anything. It's
Yeah.
grammatically correct. That's what I can assure you. And other than high school yearbook, which taught me no white space, that's it. So I'm noticing you have, like a picture and then some writing and then a picture, and it's all, very, I guess, airy.
Yeah.
And I've, the closest I've ever done is laying out a newspaper. So ours is very columns with pictures and no white space in the whole page. Is that intentional? Is that a style? Is one better than the other?
Yeah, so in the front of book and the back of book part, definitely negative space, airy, and like little tidbits of things that look different. And then when you get into the features, then it's going to look type heavy and have photographs with the text wrapped. And that's just like a visual cue of where you are. Like after this meeting, if you have a good magazine around, open that magazine up and look at how they do that, and you'll see what I mean. Yeah, newspapers, you had to print every single column inch and fill it with ads, and so it looks black and it's like covered in ink. It depends on the mood. We wanted like kind of an upscale magazine look to the newsletter, and some of you have also really achieved that. Who's Erica? Was it?
Yeah.
Erica has a very beautiful newsletter that's very airy and with lovely type and great pictures and really consistent design, and some of you did literally did beautiful magazines. As far as this like MailChimp thing, why it's so long like that, that's just like for something that's on a screen, you just keep scrolling, so it translates to your phone really well, or to a device, and you just keep scrolling through the content.
I have a question about that and scrolling. We're getting a lot of feedback that like we get clipped messages when we send it. So a lot of times people get to the end, they don't realize they can continue on by clicking that. And so whatever's in the first quarter of the newsletter is the only stuff that's seen. And so it makes it also look very incomplete because no one gets to the bottom. Are there ways around that and like settings on MailChimp, or?
Yeah, are you looking after you do it, are you looking at the other view does it give you a view for like on a phone? I forget between MailChimp and Wix. Are you able to like see the mobile view?
I'll be honest. So the person who does our newsletter isn't with us, and I kind of just very quickly like edit for content and
Okay.
continuity of fonts. And so I don't really look before it gets sent, but the problem seems to be both on mobile and on the desktop, in that like they'll tell me that, oh, I didn't even see that that we did a classifieds section, because it gets
okay.
view, and it like they don't see on Gmail it shows as view entire message. They don't see.
Oh, got it. Right.
View entire message to click and realize that they get to the end of the email. They think it's the end of the email. They don't see that link saying view entire message, and it doesn't occur to them to click out to see.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So when it comes, when they get the email, they're just reading it within their email window instead of clicking through to the newsletter.
Yes.
Okay, so as I said, you always have to tell people exactly what to do. So one thing I like to do is in the in the subject line, which is really important, by the way, we didn't talk about that. It shouldn't just say, you know, newsletter. It should say, you know, something enticing about what's in it, so that you want to click through, and then you get a couple lines after that, and you know, you could remind people, you could say click for the full story, or open this baby up, or you know, something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's what we
or
started doing.
yeah,
I
you
can share the screen and show what we started doing.
yeah, that would be helpful.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, open system preferences.
Sorry.
Let's see. It's that one. Oh heck.
Well, maybe we won't be able to.
Hold on. Just needed my fingerprint.
Oh, which one? Okay. So you're gonna pull up the actual email that it is sent in.
I gotta get out and get back into the meeting. I can do that. Okay. So the privacy settings are making me like shut Zoom down. So we'll shut it down and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I guess while we're waiting for them, I have another question.
Sure.
Since we're the one that we do ours as a magazine, it's not really a newsletter. Do you think I will approach the board about changing this and going only to digital, but is it better to do that next year at the beginning of a year instead of doing it in the, you know, like next month? You know, no more magazine, we're going online only. Is there a better time to make a change like that?
Yeah, I think you could start doing some of the issues. So like do the year-end issue, or like a special, you know, spring show issue by print, and then start delivering some of the other ones.
Yeah, right now we
via
do
email.
3 of them print and 2 of them online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so are you able to tell how your readership is with the online?
No, because they just include it on our monthly newsletter. They do a email blast. Basically, they call it a newsletter, but it's nothing like that. You know, it's just information. It's just text.
Yeah.
And then there's a link there, but there again, you have to be a member to get to see it. So then you have to log in to our website, and then you have to go there to find it. So it's a lot of
it's
difficult
work
to get
for
to.
people. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm not a huge fan of those electronic magazine readers that turn the page thing. I love to have to me, a newsletter is a different thing. It's you know, the magazines that you're producing are beautiful, and they're very lucky that they have people willing to do that. That's a ton of work. But I feel that doesn't translate to an electronic format as well as a newsletter that's, you know, shorter pieces of content that, you know, really changes a lot each month.
Yep.
So that's my thought there. I think people would have more fun with a typical email newsletter versus a digitally delivered magazine. So I think that's my recommendation there.
So maybe the online ones this year, we should try doing that way and see what kind of response we get. Or maybe throw in a few extra.
I would just lead on that. I would say we're gonna do 2 special printed issues, you know, yearbook type things, and we're gonna deliver this fantastic MailChimp newsletter that's gonna be super flexible and engage a younger audience and be a lot more user friendly.
Okay.
that's how I'd sell that.
Okay.
And we do print a magazine, 28 to 32 pages every single month. And every single sponsor and advertiser for NOTA gets this, as well as members, and it's online and it's an issue. And there is huge resistance to stopping the printing of this magazine.
Yeah,
And
well, if it
takes huge, but we also have advertisers. I mean, we have full
Right.
page and partial page advertisers, and they feel like it helps bring money and interest. We send it to any tax shop and anybody that gives us any amount of money, we send it to them.
I think that that's great. I would continue with that. You know, you're in a very different market than a lot of us. Some of the smaller GMOs in the far-flung states without a big horse community. I mean, there was no tack shop in the state of Iowa that I knew of.
Right.
So yeah, if it's supported by advertisers, it's fantastic to be able to put a magazine out and to sell a back page ad. I mean, that's great. But you see what's happened just to USDF Connection. They keep, you know, fewer and fewer issues, and that's because they can't sell ads.
Okay.
So yeah, as long as it's supported, I think it's great. Our choice was to not take advertising in the newsletter and try to make it just a really special little communication that made people excited about what we were doing.
Okay.
Yep.
No, I think that's what we were trying to do too. And I really appreciated your comments, Jean. I could share mine if you want. It was a COVID issue, so that was very difficult because there were things going on, and I reached out to several of our members.
Sure. Let's take a look.
Are you seeing it?
Oh, that's
yeah. This was great. Yeah, I loved it.
Thanks. Yeah. So this was our May issue. This was COVID had been around for about 2 months, and I was really struggling, and I got like one of our young riders to do, this is actually the daughter of the president. She was doing yoga, and I'm like, hey, horse yoga, let's do it.
Yeah.
Did that. Then we did have a clinic review that a friend of mine wrote, which was really nice, and her beautiful horse.
Look at that text wrap around the pyramid triangle. Yeah, I mean, this is lovely. Although I'd say caption the photos. Caption the photos for sure.
Oh yeah, well, it was all the same horse and rider, but yeah, that's a good. I usually do in this issue. I am seeing that I didn't, and then I always go crazy with the colors. And then we had a young professional who had gone to the Young Rider Graduate Program, and she had taken some photos, and she wrote this. And it actually won honorable mention from the USDF, which was
this is a great thing to include. So this, you know, things that our members are doing, what our members have to say about our events. This is more of like a training.
Yeah, I am trying to get more
professional
newsy.
who's a member.
I'm trying to get more newsy tidbits, but didn't have a lot for this issue. And then this is one of Taffy's articles that they're really well written, and she
very nice
with trainers. So and then we always have like recipes and things like that.
See, okay, so this is a really cute back of book type thing that if it's always in the same place every time, you would turn to that right away and say, you know, what's the recipe? So I would encourage everyone to like develop that. What's the like tail end page? What was the magazine that had the tail end? It was like a cartoon with the horse, right? You need that tail end fun thing at the end. You need the like little newsy chunks of things up front, and then those features in the middle. Yeah.
So like I'm definitely gonna start adding the links in. It never even occurred to me to do it, and of course you can. We do ours in PDF.
Yeah, sure. You can do the links in a PDF as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, also bylines. A number of you didn't have bylines on the article. So even if you wrote all the content, give yourself a byline. And so under the title, you know, by Jean Rudy, whoever wrote the piece, contributed the piece, should have that recognition before the group. So there should never be anything written feature-wise without a byline. Well, I would, if there are no more questions, I just wanted to invite everyone to email me if they had any questions about the comments.
Question, actually.
Yes, go ahead.
So we put a classified section in our newsletter, but we put it at the very, very end. Is there a better spot to put that section? Or where would you recommend placing the classifieds?
They definitely make sense at the end. That's where you would see them in a magazine or a newspaper. It's kind of like a fine print type thing that you would run next to very small ads. One thing that you can do is if you're delivering it electronically, you can have a little link at the top that can take someone, you know, directly to any spot in the newsletter.
Okay.
And here's another great tip for you. On your Facebook page, highlight different articles or highlight different features of your newsletter. Like do a post that says, did you know our newsletter has a classified ads, and do a link to it.
Right.
Do you have some, you know, piece of tack or you know, breeches that you're selling? You know, if you're a member, you can run a classified ad. If you're not, you can't. So, or if, you know, if you're not, it costs something, but then you're reinforcing the value of joining and you're bringing people's attention to a feature. We like to do that with our site too. Like, did you know we have links on the, you know, we have links on the site, or we have, you know, frequently asked questions. Yeah. So like give people a tour of your site every once in a while on your Facebook, because you want to be driving people to your site all the time.
Okay.
Oh, and of course, a newsletter sign up on your site and on your Facebook page and at every event. You want a lot of subscribers who will become members.
I have a general question that's not really about newsletters, but does any of the GMOs have an Instagram account?
I'm sure some do. Yeah. And some have Twitter, and many of them will have a YouTube channel. It's wherever your audience is, that's where you want to be.
It
So
worked out fairly well for us until, so what I was doing until this year, it didn't work out as well with the particular member, but I initiated when I became president a junior liaison position. And that was part of trying to engage the local pony club. And so I gave that kid a certain amount of free reign to develop content on the Instagram account. And the two prior to our current one actually did a pretty good job. Like they each kind of had their own little style. I would just tell them, hey, do a post about the show coming up and entries closing on this date, and they would come up with something. But again, it's so I was like plugging into like that youth creativity, but again, it's kind of member dependent, because like the current kid we have, I've essentially taken over the account because I'm having to instruct her like word for word.
Right. Yeah, we had a similar situation, or we had a junior and then we didn't have any juniors, and then I became the Facebook manager. So yeah, if you have that person, great, and it's definitely good for engaging young people. So, well, we should conclude now. 8:30, and I know you probably, I don't know if you have creatures that you have to feed or But this has been really fun, Holly. Thank you so much. This was Holly's